The Japanese word Jomon means rope-like patterns. Jomon period is a forbidden history in Japan. In this episode, we will discover what happened in the Jomon period, the time when the mysterious Dogu were massively made, the time when the Jomon people were basically exterminated by the Yayoi people, and the time that may reveal the origins of Japanese people that the Japanese government has issued laws to prohibit. There are mysterious figurines that the Japanese don't have a certain answer until now, the Dogu. Dogu come exclusively from the Jomon period and were no longer made by the following Yayoi period. There are many stories about Dogu in it. A train station in Aomori Prefecture in northeastern Japan called Kizukuri Station. The entire station is a huge Dogu. At night, its eyes also emit mysterious lights. The name and purpose of Dogu are all unknown to the Japanese. Archaeologists only know that the Dogu is a pottery figurine made by the Jomon people of Japan 14,000 years ago. There are more than 20,000 Dogu found throughout Japan, except for Okinawa. There is no uniform standard for the shape and size of Dogu. They can be found in any posture, some standing, some sitting, some with round faces, some with heart-shaped faces, and triangular faces. They all look different. Human archaeologists have come up with an amazing answer. The British anthropologist Sir James Fraser wrote a book called The Golden Bough, a study in comparative religion at the end of the 19th century. Sir James speculated that for ancient people living in a wild environment, plants did not grow smoothly just by sowing seeds and watering like in modern times. The field is regarded as a holy place where plant elves gather. Every seed from germination to smooth harvest is a miracle protected by the power of elves. On this basis, Japanese anthropologist Fumitoshi Takakura makes an extrapolation that Dogu were actually anthropomorphized products of plants and shellfish. In the Jomon period, when there was no written language, Dogu was a visual language used to express the religious views of the time. Most Dogu have particularly elongated eyes, especially this kind of Dogu. The name of this kind of Dogu is goggle-eyed type Dogu. Archaeologists speculate that the Dogu was actually wearing a type of sunglasses, similar to those worn by the Eskimo people, using snow goggles made of caribou antlers, which are thin and long. Then the question arises. Japan has 4 distinct seasons and there is no heavy snow all year round, so why does Dogu wear snow goggles? Could it be that Japan also has the same year-round snow cover as the Arctic Circle? Yes, this is the period when Dogu appeared, between 2.6 million years ago and 12,000 years ago, when the Quaternary glaciation appeared on the Earth. During the Quaternary glaciation, Europe, North America, and Siberia were all covered by ice sheets, and the sea level dropped by an average of 120 meters. This led to a human migration that crossed the sea and came to Japan. The ancient times in Japan are known as forbidden areas of history, secrets that are forbidden to be studied. The earliest record comes from the Records of the Three Kingdoms in the 3rd century AD. Wajinden records that there is a country called Yamatai in the Eastern Sea, and the people in it call themselves Wajin. Wajin was originally a man as king, but due to the wars every year the people were in dire straits, so Wajin elected a woman as queen, named Himiko. There is no record of what Himiko looks like. Records of the Three Kingdoms writes that Himiko has been hiding in a towering castle, served by 1,000 maids, heavily guarded outside, and only one man brings her food every day. Himiko can predict the future. It is recorded in Records of the Three Kingdoms that Himiko dreamed of a god every night, and this god calls himself Ōmononushi. It is very important to remember this name. When Ōmononushi appears, shining balls of light will appear on the sea of Japan. Ōmononushi tells Himiko what will happen in the future in a dream, and it turns out that these dreams came true. So Himiko believed in Ōmononushi and dedicated herself to him, lingering with the god every night. But the strange thing is that Himiko finds that she can only see Ōmononushi at night, and when she wakes up, Ōmononushi has disappeared without a trace. So one night Himiko said that she hoped that Ōmononushi would stay so that she could look up to his majesty. The next morning, Himiko was shocked when she opened her eyes. The Ōmononushi in front of her turned out to be a snake-like creature. So she screamed. Ōmononushi jumped up and transformed into a human form instantly, glared at Himiko, saying that your scream was an insult to me, and then disappeared in a flash. Himiko was ashamed at this time and wanted to get Ōmononushi back, but it was too late. So in grief and anger, she ended her life. From then on, the era of Himiko ended, and Japan entered the era of great tombs. There are many keyhole-like tombs appeared in ancient times. It is not known when these tombs were built or who built them. The Japanese government has issued laws prohibiting excavation and visiting these keyhole tombs. The largest tumulus is the Daisen Kofun in Osaka. Although it is not as tall as the Egyptian pyramids, its area is larger than the Egyptian pyramids and the Pyramid of the Sun in South America. A huge sarcophagus was excavated in the corner of the second floor of the Daisen Kofun. It was very strange in shape and weighed dozens of tons, but it was not known what was inside the sarcophagus. Osaka used to mean a huge earth slope. If you go to Osaka and the area nearby, you will know that ancient megalithic buildings can be seen everywhere, like the Ishi-no-Hoden megalith, one of Japan's oldest and holiest sites. This giant stone monument carved out of bedrock on a mountainside is believed by some researchers to date back 16,000 years and weighs approximately 500 tons. It is said to resemble a floating rock over water, earning it the name floating rock from the heavens. Japanese lore suggests that the Ishi-no-Hoden megalith was created by ancestors to document an extraterrestrial visitation, using the hard stone to symbolize the color and indestructible nature of the craft they saw in the sky. In Osaka Park, another ancient site with a similar legend, Masuda-no-iwafune, this 800-ton rock structure, carved from a single piece of granite, also does not resemble any other architecture in Japan. Some researchers believe it is a tomb, while others think it depicts the sky boats described in ancient Japanese stories. The name Iwafune means stone ship or rock ship, suggesting it was believed to be a vehicle for gods descending from the heavens. There was a legend of close encounter in Edo period, the Utsuro-bune, Hitachi province now known as Ishioka. A group of fishermen discovered an unusual vessel drifting near the shore. The object was described as a round, hollow, and disc-shaped craft, measuring about 3.3 meters in height and 5.5 meters in diameter. Inside the vessel, they found a young woman who was described as having fair skin and red hair, adorned with long white and red garments. She was said to be very beautiful, yet her appearance and the language she spoke were unfamiliar to the locals. The woman carried a box, the contents of which she refused to reveal. Despite attempts to communicate, they could not understand each other. The villagers ultimately returned the vessel to the sea, and it drifted away, its fate remaining unknown. The Utsuro-bune was so-called the first recorded UFO encounter in Japanese history. It is a fascinating piece of folklore rather than solid historical evidence of extraterrestrial contact. The Japanese word Jomon means rope-like patterns. Archaeologists have discovered that many pottery and Dogu found the ruins in that period all have rope-like patterns, some of which are arranged in an orderly manner like fish scales, and some of which are swirling circles. This is why it was named the Jomon period. Many temples in Japan hang this mysterious rope, which is used to ward off evil spirits. This rope is called shimenawa, and the largest shimenawa in Izumo Taisha. The god enshrined in it is Ōkuninushi. According to the Nihon Shoki, after Ōkuninushi built the country, he began to think about how to govern it. At this time, a shining ball of light suddenly appeared in the sea, and a god appeared in the ball of light. Ōkuninushi asked, "Who are you?" The god said, "I am your lucky soul, the god who bestows happiness, and your Kihun, the god who possesses magical power. If you serve me, I will keep your country safe from disasters," the god said. This god is Ōmononushi, the snake-like god we talked about earlier. Therefore, all the pottery patterns in the Jomon ruins are probably the patterns on the body of Ōmononushi. Speaking of patterns, the next thing related to are tattoos. It is recorded in Wajinden that all males in Yamatai had tattoos on their faces. They believed that would avoid the harm of dragons. At that time, snake-like creatures appeared in the Sea of Japan, like Ōmononushi in the Yamata-no-Orochi. Therefore, Wajin began to tattoo his face and body to make himself look like the snake god so that he could get the blessing of the snake god. There are two types of people in Japan. One is the standard Asian, and the other looks like a European, with thick eyebrows, big eyes, and lots of hair. People with lots of hair are actually Jomon people, and those with Asian looks are Yayoi people. In ancient times, Japan was mainly ruled by the Jomon people, but more and more Asians came to Japan from China and the Korean peninsula. After that, the Jomon people and the Yayoi people started fighting, and the Jomon people were basically exterminated. When the emperor of the Yayoi people appears, the story of God and kingship must be told in its entirety, and history must be reshaped. So after changing and changing, there was a gap with time, and it didn't match up, so there was a blank 150 years. This blank 150 years may be the war between the Yayoi and the Jomon people. During this period, the high priests, nobles, and their descendants of the Jomon people were all killed. But history will always leave us clues. There is an ancient race called the Ainu living in Hokkaido, Japan. The Ainu all wear turbans on their heads and clothes with mysterious patterns on their bodies. The men have huge beards, like the Sumerians, and the women have snakes tattooed on their mouths and all over their bodies. In the modern Ainu language, tattoos are called nuye, the ancient time called anchipiri, which means carving and obsidian cutting. In ancient times, tattoos were cut with obsidian. Since ancient times, the Ainu have been the main targets of the Japanese shogunate's conquests, and eventually, they were all driven to Hokkaido. The Ainu used to have tattoos all over their bodies, but after 1779, the Japanese shogunate banned tattoos and forced the Ainu to speak Japanese. Until now, the Ainu have been assimilated, but their descendants still strive to preserve their culture. Why are the tattoos on the hands of Taiwanese Aborigines so similar to those of the Ainu? Ainu women have tattoos on their mouths, as do the Atayal people in Taiwan and the Maori people in New Zealand. Moreover, Maori men also need tattoos. Could it be that Dogu also appeared in these places? Feel free to leave your comments. If you like my video, please subscribe and share it with your friends. I see you in the next quest.